Welcome to Creating a Self-Love Lifestyle. I'm Marcy Newman, your Heart Shift coach, and today we're talking about that energy behind your armor. Now, you might be saying, well, what exactly do you mean by that? Well, here's what I've come to know. Every single one of us has developed a certain aspect of armor that has prevented us from loving ourselves. Now, you might be saying, wait a second, I might have had some armor in the past, but I don't have that anymore. Well, here's what I want to share with you. If you at any time are experiencing any kind of self doubt, any not being enough, not being good enough, not being worthy enough, not being lovable enough, not being funny enough, not being anything enough, it is the result of that armor that you have developed. Now, of course, this armor is something that actually developed at a very young age. And it started when you experienced through the eyes of the people around you any inference whatsoever that you were disappointing them. The interpretation of that, particularly after we have experienced it multiple times, which I'm sure all of you have, as I have, that the inference again is that you're not enough. And what happens is we develop this sense of self that is completely distorted. It's why we start to look outside of ourselves for validation. Now, when we're looking to create a self love lifestyle, what we've come to know, and I'm sure that you have watched my previous videos as I've talked about this before, but validating ourselves through somebody else's eyes is only a recipe for disaster because we can never, ever live up to it. You see, those expectations that others have on us is based on what they need from us. It's also based on a lot of times projection of their own sense of inadequacy. And so they project it onto you because, frankly, it's unbearable, isn't it? So, what happens over time, these layers upon layers upon layers of experiences of taking in these distorted and false beliefs about the self has robbed us of the ability to actually love ourselves. It has done this because it creates a layer which is like a barrier, like an armor. When I say armor, what's the image that you get? Like most of us, it's that antiquated, soldier who was head to toe, right, armored and made out of metal, and being able to go into battle with the belief that nothing would touch them. But if that were the case, why would there ever have been casualties in those wars? What it tells us is that that armor actually doesn't protect us at all. At least not from the things that are most important. You see, it doesn't protect us at all from the fear that is within us that we're not enough. That fear of not being enough actually creates the energy that we show up in all the time. It also creates the lens that we look through, whether we are looking in the mirror and seeing ourselves or looking at others. And so, this armor, as we've seen, even historically, this false belief that it's going to protect you, in fact, never protects you. Okay, so it might protect you if there's an arrow coming at you from some direction you don't see and you hear it ping off, but it doesn't ever really protect you. And in fact, today we're talking about the energy behind that armor, because that is the place where you are actually most vulnerable, in a way where you have been cut off from the very source of energy that is there granting you automatic protection. You see, here's what happens. In reality, as you are so busy with these distortions, creating this false impression of yourself, this false belief that you're not enough, and you are very busily creating this armor, there is an energy behind that armor that is totally confused. In fact, we might even say it reaches a state of being distraught, because that is the energy that is coming directly from your heart, your higher self, your direct connection to the God source, the consciousness of God, the consciousness of creation. This energy we often call love. And the reason we do is because, well, frankly, there isn't another word, I think, that maybe describes it in the way that we need to um, have something totally indescribable described. But here's the issue. The issue is that as this energy of love, this creative force, all it knows to do is to continually create, to move forward. It never goes backwards. Creation never doubles back on itself. It only moves forward. That's the nature of the energy itself. Well, what happens when there's an armor and a belief that you don't dare allow that energy out? What happens to the energy? As you can well imagine, it's all dressed up and nowhere to go. Have you ever had that feeling? Have you ever had that happen to you? You know, that feeling deep in the pit of your stomach, like, what? What am I supposed to do with all of this? And no matter what you try to substitute it with, never quite measures up to what you had initially in mind. So there's an intelligence to this love. That intelligence is innate. That is the divine aspect of you that knows that you are a creator. It knows exactly what you're here to do. And it knows that the only energy worth creating from is love. Well, if you have all of that love backed up, being held back by that protective mechanism, that armor, that energy can only do one thing. It's dense. There's no life to it because it is not flowing. The energy of love, the creative life force energy, is energy that must be given and returned. Given and returned. So, of course, that armor is also preventing you from receiving anything. You know that, right? It's why you have the longest, loneliest days and nights. It's why nothing ever seems to fulfill you or bring you joy. Because unless you are in the flow of this love, this creative life force, the giving and the receiving, you will never, ever feel that fulfillment. So, this armor is calling to you and it's saying, set me free. Because that armor is really dissatisfied with its job. That energy wants to get out and play. It wants to be part of the creative energy. So everything that you have put into place through all of those false beliefs, all of those false interpretations, and looking for someone else to determine your enoughness, you have disconnected yourself from the very nature of who you are. You are the source of this energy. Hmm. I don't know about you, but all of that sounds exhausting. Can you imagine the exhaustion having to walk around continuously with a full set of armor? Yeah, I didn't think so. So today is your invitation to start taking that armor off. Yeah, you can do it piece by piece if you want. If that's, how you're more comfortable, it's okay. Start with just one glove at a time. Get a screwdriver, start to unpack that thing. Or you can just decide right here and right now. Bam. Gone. Taking it off. Totally up to you because you are the one who, of course, creates your reality. So determining, how much of that armor you're willing to take off will determine the experiences that you have and how much of that energy of love, that creative energy, you allow to go out and come back and receive. So, with that, I look forward to hearing about your stories, maybe your decision making process about how much you're going to let go of. But in the meantime, I'd like to leave you with this affirmation: I am. I am safe, already protected in the energy of love that I am. No other truth. I am. I am that love. You are that love. Repeat it to yourself day in and day out. And I think perhaps that self love lifestyle that you are yearning to create and, of course, to be living is right there waiting for you. And it's going to show itself to you. Amazing. Okay. I'll see you again right here next week. And of course, between now and then, just know how loved and cherished you are. You are love. I am.